Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me. This is our AM actual news. Today is what? Thursday, December 19th. We're just 5 days away from Christmas. It's coming very soon. Time flies away when you're having fun or you're anxious. That's what I figured out. Perhaps it has all to do with our anxiety and not really the fun we're having. But maybe you're having fun, and I'm very happy for you. And again, thank you for joining me. I'm in a very humid environment, hence the hairdo. But I hope you're doing well. And I hope you started your morning on a peaceful note. Hey, Alexander, good morning. Good morning. And the flowers. Thank you. Alrighty. So we have to get better with the schedule. I have to get better with the schedule. I think I'm gonna just schedule 9:30 a.m. in the morning, which will be for sure doable. Why? Because we have a bunch of weird, good briefings at 8:30 in the morning. Like for instance, this morning, Pentagon on China and it really expanding its air force, adding 100 nuclear warheads and all that kind of stuff, which sort of broke the news last night in a very lengthy report. And nerds like me opened it and actually read it. And then this morning, of course, news were reporting on it in very concise form, and it sort of became the breaking news. But at 10 a.m. this morning, like in about 40 minutes, there will be another briefing that I will attend with the Secretary of the Air Force and to see how we compare and also what's the state of affairs given the Department of Governmental Efficiency, this DOGE thing, and what they want to do and what Pentagon will be doing and not doing and whatnot. So I will make sure to include all of that in your this evening's around 5 p.m. or so podcast and the newsletter. So if you're wondering what the hell am I talking about, this is the newsletter. So please get it, honest.substack.com. We will be moving everything to honestnetwork.com, to my website, starting around January 1st, because Substack has been now partnering with a company that is fully sponsored by Peter Thiel. And there's two reasons why I don't want to be a part of it. I love Substack. I really love the platform. It works really well, but your safety, meaning your emails and access to your emails, is my first priority. And second priority, me being able to report on the actual news without being, asked to do something a certain way. So, given those two things, I think having all the access to audio, written, and video news from one source, from the website, and then we have the actual news app, will be a safer bet and just safer for you and me as well. So, but our podcast has premiered this Monday. The actual news podcast is available everywhere, literally Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, you name it, we're there. And so this is pretty much the audio version of the newsletter, plus some. I also include some clips when I quote somebody. I include their voices, so it is more entertaining when, of course, permitting that I quote somebody at that specific day. So if you're feeling this type of way, your anxiety and then anxiety in December with little light bulbs, please join. My main intention is to really provide actual factual news to allow you to build your opinion and make better decisions. That's what I'm here for, and I hope you utilize those ways to connect. So in the morning, AM actual news, then around 5 p.m., your podcast and the newsletter. Okay? All right. I think I wasted enough time waiting. Nearing. Yeah, Josh. Oh, thank you. We have one video that hit like 1.2 million views. It was about Ukraine. So I think that's what drives the subscribers. But I'll be using YouTube as a player for the app. So not really aiming the YouTube thing, because I'm literally banned or whatever every single day. I receive the email that whatever this led to this, so it's not going to be monetized anyway. Okay, let's get to the news. All right, so of course the big talk is about the governmental shutdown and who drives all of this. Of course, those two that will be, one of them will be incoming, right? President-elect Trump. But then Musk is, I don't know, is he incoming? Is he there? What's his role? We know what his role is, right? This DOGE department. But he's not been elected. But he plays major role now. really advocating for the governmental shutdown. So Elon Musk and President-elect Trump have both strongly criticized a newly proposed 3-month spending bill aimed at averting a governmental shutdown. Released Tuesday morning, the 1,547-page bipartisan bill contains provisions Musk and Trump deem unrelated and excessive. Musk called the bill a crime on X and urged voters to hold lawmakers accountable if they support it. Trump echoed similar sentiments, stating he is totally against the bill, raising the possibility of a shutdown this weekend without an agreement. Now, some facts. The 1,500 about page bill includes hurricane aid, new healthcare policies, and a pay raise for members of Congress, right? Then Trump wants a smaller bill that would raise the debt ceiling and move that many conservatives oppose. But what he stated in his tweet, our truth or whatever that is, that he'd rather do that on Biden's watch. So he wants to raise debt ceiling, right? Under Biden, not under him. And a bill will need to be created, passed, and then signed by Biden before government funding lapses at 12:01 a.m. on Saturday. So tomorrow night, that's the deadline. As to some tweets, these are the tweets that Trump put up. And he says, sounds like the ridiculous and extraordinary expensive continuing resolution plus is dying fast, but can anyone imagine passing it without either terminating or extending? So anyway, I'll summarize it for you. He pretty much threatens every single Congress member, saying that if you vote in favor of it, you're going to lose your primaries. And that's exactly the notion that Musk said. And also, that's the notion that Musk brought to Capitol Hill just a week ago, saying if you will oppose any of our cabinet member nominees and the bill and whatnot, well, you will oppose the nominees or you will vote in favor of the bill. I will personally sponsor an anti-campaign, so you will lose your primaries. So we are functioning as Don Corleone, gangbang in Congress. So it's threats. It's not legal, I think. It's for sure not ethical or normal, but whatever is not getting any any feedback or any opposition will become normality. And that's what, unfortunately, I do see happening. Now, Karine Jean-Pierre, the Speaker of the White House, she issued a statement yesterday via email. She says, quote, Republicans need to stop playing politics with this bipartisan agreement, or they will hurt hardworking Americans and create instability across the country. President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect Vance ordered Republicans to shut down the government, and they are threatening to do just that, while undermining communities recovering from disasters, farmers and ranchers, and community health centers. Triggering a damaging government shutdown would hurt families who are gathering to meet with their loved ones and endanger the basic services Americans, from veterans to Social Security recipients, rely on. A deal is a deal. Republicans should keep their word. And so Hakeem Jeffries is, of course, against opposing the bill. Speaker Johnson is in favor. Jeffries pretty much said, hey, Johnson, you're by yourself. Do your thing. So we'll see what will happen. My guesstimation is it will pass. But certainly this entire thing and this heavy involvement from Trump and Musk is just not helping, but it is a preview of what's to come next. Now, these folks are not in charge yet. Now, imagine they will be. Now, let's move on to another topic regarding Congress. Yes, they voted to, there was like a House panel secret vote that came in favor of releasing Matt Gaetz' report. We know, what we know, right, that he had those affairs with minors and he drugged them or whatever that is. The point being is, this guy at this point is a host at OAN or AON, America One Network, right? AON. So celebrating it is, in my opinion, is sort of like screaming squirrel, and everybody turns around. Where? It doesn't solve anything. The good deed has been done, that he's not becoming Attorney General, although another person is becoming, and that person is very focused and laser sharp focused on retributions and stuff like that. Um, but then with Matt Gaetz, do we need to talk about it? Yes, it will be interesting to read what he actually has done to stop him from going anywhere near the government later on. But does it solve our biggest problems coming up? No. So let's focus. Let's keep our head on a swivel. Now, the bigger news is from California. So the CDC has confirmed the first severe case of bird flu, H5N1, in the US. Well, first, it's involving a patient in Louisiana who had been hospitalized after contact with sick and dead birds in backyard flocks. This follows a 60 reported mild human cases, mostly among farm workers, since the beginning of the year. The ongoing bird flu outbreak has led to the death of 123 million poultry and infections in over 860 dairy herds across 16 states. While health officials note that overall risk to the public remains low, California has declared now an emergency due to an outbreak of bird flu in dairy cattle. So that's coming up from California. They did request more funds. They did declare state of emergency. So we'll see what will happen given January 20th, and given that pretty much the pandemic, well, how we handle pandemic, right? The pandemic plan or game plan, literally how to conquer it or face it, will be thrown out of the window, probably like it was done last time. So let's see how this will proceed. Now, the U.S. Department of Transportation has issued a final rule to enhance transportation accessibility by adopting uniform, technically defined standards for transit stops in the public right-of-way. Now, these standards, effective January 17th of the next year, align with the U.S. Access Board's accessibility guidelines for pedestrian facilities in the public right-of-way, ensuring consistency in new construction and alteration. So yesterday, I also reported on the changes that Pete Buttigieg and the department has brought to accommodate people with disability when they're flying. And so I read out, I posted it across socials, also in the newsletter and in the podcast. So I'm not going to bother you with reading all of it, but main intention is that yes, they have passed the Americans with Disabilities Act, and he's acting upon it. And so this is the last ruling that's coming before the term ends. Now, Supreme Court will now hear the case of TikTok. The Supreme Court will do that on January 10th. Of course, the idea or the talk is over the ban of TikTok that they may face if they do not sell, or their parent company ByteDance will not sell the American part to an American owner. Again, I always continue talking about it. I think Musk will buy it, but the guesstimation was that Trump will be very much in favor of TikTok and just dismiss this ban. But there's a lot of folks like Mitch McConnell and everybody advocating in favor of the ban, because all of national security advisors, including Jake Sullivan, as recent as a day ago, I told you that last morning, said that, look, we know that it is an engaging platform. It is a short video platform. It is interesting and entertaining, but we also see the data, how the Chinese are keeping our information. Also, not just detecting the trends that are in the United States or the Western world, so to speak, but they're dictating those trends. Just remember what happened in Romania, how the guy has went 10% up in his election in one day by investing $1 million in TikTok. So for this reason, Europe is considering removing social media aspect, the paid aspect of social media from elections. I think we're far from that here, but we'll see what will happen on January 10th. So this will happen just days before the law would take effect. TikTok argues the law violates the First Amendment by infringing on free speech. The law passed earlier this year cites national security concerns. Trump has expressed that he has a warm spot for TikTok, but his Department of Justice, DOJ, would be responsible for enforcing the ban if the Supreme Court allows it to proceed. So he's sort of like, you guys decide, I'll be fine anyway. The court will also consider whether South Carolina can deny Medicaid funding to Planned Parenthood over abortion, which the state bans over 6 weeks of pregnancy. So this is another hot case that will be coming also by the beginning of the year. Now, in some quick news, President Biden announced an ambitious goal for the US in slashing carbon emissions. I will have exact readout and the points that he wants to put into law in your newsletter tonight, and also we'll read this out on the podcast. But the problem is that Trump already said he will disregard all of it. But again, to keep the notion and to understand what could have been, I'll put it in your newsletter. So, another story from France. Folks are celebrating, especially women are celebrating, that the Dominique Pellicot, a Frenchman who admitted to drugging his wife, Giselle, for almost a decade and inviting dozens of strangers, up to 50, okay, to join him in raping her, was convicted of aggravated rape and other charges. 50 other men were also convicted. This is a trial that took forever. And France is celebrating, and women of France are celebrating, and feminists are celebrating. But certainly, I think any reasonable person should be celebrating. Giselle has become a symbol of female strength around the world. Vanessa Friedman writes. This was from New York Times. Now, Canada will invest $1.3 billion to enhance border security, including the creation of a new joint strike force. So this strike force will have drones, will have army, will have all this good stuff. The idea is to target organized crime as well as the deployment of drones. They will deploy drones, surveillance towers, and chemical detection tools. These measures come in response to Trump, of course, and his threat of 25% tariffs. And this gives Trump the idea, he keeps tweeting about it, I will save you in your morning, from showing you those tweets. But he literally tweets at 3:30 in the morning, calling Prime Minister Trudeau, Governor Trudeau, and saying that the Canadians cannot wait to become the 51st state, and that they would be so happy to have stronger army, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to ask you, Canadians, please comment. Are you eager to join United States? I doubt it. But now, the People's Republic of China, that's the biggest news, has improved its ability to project power globally despite corruption purges and a shrinking economy. The Pentagon's annual report card on the Chinese military says that includes a growing nuclear arsenal that added 100 new warheads in the last year. And so I will provide some more resources and deep sort of not really deep dive, but really more the opinion of how we take it and how we can conquer it, given the next meeting that I will attend with the Secretary of Air Force. Okay, so Germany's center-right bloc, currently leading in the polls for February election, has released a platform that includes proposals to, and here I'll let you think what it reminds you on. First, severely limit asylum seekers, so closing borders. Second, reduce tax. They also big talk about abortion and banning abortion. And finally, they will continue supporting Ukraine. So I think that's the main difference from what we had here. Now, the Islamists governing Syria, this HTS group, have controlled the city of Idlib for years. And so now those people who lived under their regime, so to speak, are speaking out. And they said that they pretty much limited women's rights, more tending towards Sharia law. But they did improve public services, which I think is benefiting the man, right? Benjamin Netanyahu was visiting the territory that Israel has seized from Syria, and he said that his forces, the IDF, will remain there for foreseeable future as he seeks to have a say into what the next Syrian government will look like. Russia's Federal Security Service has not identified the suspect in killing of that General Kirillov, but they said that it's an Uzbek man who was recruited by Ukrainian intelligence agencies. It's always an Uzbek man. It always has to be a minority in Russia so they can blame somebody, cut their ears off, and that type of stuff. So we will have to see what the reality is. But Ukrainians have anonymously said that, or some people anonymously have said that it's their deed and they stand by it. And he was the legitimate military target, given that he was not just advocating, but he was using chemical weapons against Ukrainians, right? And this has been detected. And so they took the matters in their own hands. The problem here is, though, yes, it is a powerful move, but then we kind of want to have these people testifying by the end of day and revealing, or being pushed to reveal, what actually happened, who gave the orders, and what was the scope of those ideas, right? Rather than having them in graveyards. Also, Putin today suggested, he was at a conference, everything looked big, he looked very small, per usual. And he said, look, let's do an experiment. Let's put all the missile protection systems, or all the systems, sort of like an Iron Dome, on Kiev, and let us strike it with our Oreshnik, with the new ballistic missile, and let's see how it holds against our missile. Let's do this, but actually we're already doing it, and all that kind of stuff. So is it a joke? Is it an announcement? I don't know what this is, but he did mention Kiev, right, the capital of Ukraine, as a target. So I think that's the main message in this joke, or whatever that is. And lastly, now you can call 1-800 ChatGPT, if you can get enough of ChatGPT, to have a phone call with OpenAI's chatbot. Initially, callers get a free 15 minutes per month. Are we turning that into some self-pleasure conversations? Is that what we're getting into? I don't know. Other news, now longer readout. The Federal Reserve lowered interest rates by a quarter point for the third consecutive meeting. I've reported on it. But its updated forecast revealed a reduced outlook for future rate cuts in 2025, now projecting only 2, down from 4 that they promised last September, or this September. The change reflects persistent inflation and strong job market, which have led the Fed to adjust its approach. Despite inflation remaining above 2% target, the labor market's resilience has prompted Fed Chair Powell to adopt a more cautious stance. Additionally, uncertainty around potential economic policies under Trump, particularly regarding those tariffs and tax cuts, has led the Fed to raise its inflation forecast for 2025. And so Powell, however, expressed confidence in the strength of the U.S. economy, calling it the envy of the world. So at some point, they have to balance, right? And that's what the Fed does. It's balancing act. We have stronger labor market, we have lower inflation, and so they have to, right? You lower your you provide some cuts, and then the labor market suffers. So they have to balance it. And I think at this point, and there's so much criticism against Powell, but you have to see what Trump will actually be able to do, right? Because at this point, they're screaming wolf. They're threatening Canada with 25% tariffs. Then they say, Trudeau is now sending drones to the borders and investing billions of dollars, or billion plus some. And he's responding to my threats. So was this 25% tariff a threat, and you now not considering it? Same with Mexico, or you will still be imposing it? Then how does it look with China, right? So it remains to be seen. So this cautiousness from Powell, I think, just makes sense, at least in my humble opinion. Then the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, NERC, and ERC has issued a warning in its last annual report, stating that power infrastructure is not being developed quickly enough to meet the growing demand driven by artificial intelligence and electrification. The report projects that about half of the United States will face an increased risk of energy shortages over the next decade, with the potential for planned and unplanned blackouts during peak demand periods in both US and Canada. The demand surge, fueled by technological advancements, poses significant challenges to maintaining reliable energy supplies across the continent. I think we, the public, we, the people, deserve to ask about AI, right? And that fast development of AI. What is here the benefit and the disadvantage, right? Advantage, disadvantage. Can we evaluate? Can somebody reevaluate? Because we're diving into anything that has to do with AI, and then we'll have planned and unplanned blackouts. I'm not in favor of it. Probably you're not either. But is anybody asking us? Who's question? Now, the U.S. Department of Defense remains steadfast in aiding Ukraine's defense against Russia's ongoing aggression. I know the rumor was, and it was really planned. There's 2 rumors planted by Fox News, and let me conquer them both. One, is that Biden's administration is selling the wall at the border for $5 a piece. Makes no sense. This is not true. This was planted by Murdoch news media. It's only Fox News, Sky News, the New York Post, and that stuff alike. It was not confirmed by the administration. It was actually doomed to be a rumor. So let's not spread this type of thing. And also, why? How do you sell $5 a piece for the wall? What do you mean? Makes no sense. Anyway, if anything, Biden put more wall than Trump did. But other rumors that whatever is Biden and then his administration allocating to Ukraine, that there will be no time to get this money out of the door. That is a rumor. Let's not entertain this rumor. The administration is knowing what they're doing. So the U.S. Department of Defense now confirmed with $1.2 billion in Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, funds set to be allocated by year's end, and $5.6 billion in Presidential Drawdown Authority, providing equipment and munitions through the Biden administration. That's the $5.6 billion given to Ukraine to purchase from us, right? That's the PDA. The U.S. is ensuring Ukraine's battlefield readiness. A recent $988 million USAI package includes unmanned aerial systems, rocket munitions, and maintenance support, marking the 22nd aid package under President Biden. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin has galvanized the Ukraine Defense Contract Group, a coalition of 50 nations, to address Ukraine's immediate and long-term defense needs. This global effort has resulted in over $59 billion in security assistance, with some allies contributing more than a percentage of their own GDP. So way more than what we do, given our GDP is way higher. So again, let's keep our head on a swivel. Let's see what will happen, right? Whether the whole money will make it to Ukraine or not, but let's not spread the rumors before anything is even true. And that is wholeheartedly, I'm referring to Ukrainian podcasters and journalists and reporters. This type of clickbait as to we're doomed, Trump will come and save us, Biden sucks. Who are you serving? If you're serving Trump and his campaign and you're getting paid for it, I guess it's a job. But if you are an independent source, why do you use your audience's trust to misinform them? So Zelensky did meet with President Macron in Brussels. They discussed, the ongoing support for Ukraine. He thanked France for pretty much advocating for this global coalition and the support. And also he met with Secretary General of NATO. And same in Brussels. And today they continue with more meetings in Brussels. And so Zelensky said, quote, during these 2 days, it is crucial to meet with all our partners to ensure a joint, not divided position on how to secure Ukraine and strengthen our people and army, unquote. Of course, then followed by Mark Rutte's remarks, he said, quote, we must do everything necessary now to provide Ukraine with the air defense and other weapons systems needed to protect critical infrastructure, unquote. Which I think those comments did lead to Putin's idea of let's do an experiment. You will protect Kiev and we'll bomb it and we'll see how your defense system works. Okay. Now, U.S. has posed more sanctions, this time on entities supporting Pakistan's missile program. So it has been detected that Pakistan is developing ballistic missiles. We don't know about the nuclear idea of it, but the point is that ballistic missiles can be turned into nuclear weapons. So for this reason, U.S. has sanctioned the entities aiming at curbing the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. The sanctioned entities include Pakistan's National Development Complex, which oversees the country's ballistic missile program, and 3 suppliers, Affiliates International, Akhtar and Sons Private Limited, and Rockside Enterprise. And so U.S. stated that it's not here to manhandle any nation, but really protect sort of the global balance when it comes to weapons, especially ballistic weapons and nuclear ability. Also, U.S. expanded the sanctions on entities linked to Nord Stream 2 pipeline. The United States has announced additional sanctions targeting entities and individuals involved in Nord Stream 2 pipeline construction, citing their connection to harmful activities of Russian Federation. These measures build on prior sanctions imposed under the Protecting Europe's Energy Security Act. Sanctioned entities include marine service and transport companies such as Samara Heat and Energy Property Fund, joint stock company Nobility and limited liability company Coxsomhim-Trans, and others, along with vessels they own or manage. The sanctions also target Nord Stream 2 AG, the pipeline operator, and related figures like Matthias Warning, its former CEO. Again, good. My question is, how long will the sanctions remain? We're getting into Christmas, we're getting into holidays, and then Trump comes in, and what do we know is going to happen with all those sanctions that are very anti-Russian? Remains to be seen. The U.S. also has sanctioned 2 entities and 2 individuals involved in development of procurement of sensitive navigational systems for the Iranian military, particularly those used in unmanned aerial vehicles and missiles. The targeted organizations, such as the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Aerospace Force Self-Sufficiency Jihad Organization, are crucial to Iran's ballistic missile and UAV programs. This action, carried out in coordination with the Department of Commerce and Department of Justice, underscores U.S. commitment to disrupting Iran's efforts to acquire components for these weapons and their systems. So again, a busy day at the DOJ and Department of Treasury. My question remains again, how long will this stick? So now our CIA director, William Burns, has been meeting with Qatar Prime Minister to discuss potential ceasefire and hostage deal in Gaza, according to the sources that are close to CIA and planning his travel. Indirect negotiations regarding the deal have been ongoing since Israel presented Hamas with an updated proposal 3 weeks ago. The discussions have raised hopes for a resolution amidst the ongoing conflict in Gaza. And so what they're discussing essentially is a temporary ceasefire. So it would be 60 days, 30 hostages would be returned, whether alive or unalived, and then they will see what's from there. And what's from there is Trump and Netanyahu and their bond. And so what they're going to do from there on, build the sort of what they call the Monaco of the Middle East in Gaza, or respect Palestinians' rights. We'll see. Remains to be seen. But there are international calls for accountability, aid, and peace amid serious ongoing transition. UN Special Envoy for Syria warned that the war in Syria is far from over, citing the ongoing risk of armed conflict between groups in the country's north. And remember, I featured an article from the Kurdish journalist who is based in Washington, D.C. He's award-winning international press or media person, and he provided some insight in one of the recent newsletters. And so he stated there that there's literally a war zone in the northern Syria, where the Syrian army, backed by United States, is fighting the other side, which is backed by Turkey. And there's the big misunderstanding as to U.S. and Turkey are both in NATO. How will that affect the relationship, but also what NATO will do in case, let's say, somebody were to retaliate and strike Turkey, right? In a briefing to UN Security Council, he highlighted fragile ceasefire in Manbij, where US-backed Kurdish fighters and Turkish-backed forces have agreed to extend the truce through the end of the week, which the week ends literally in a couple of days. UN humanitarian chief Tom Fletcher raised concerns that continued fighting could disrupt aid efforts, especially as the UN Refugee Agency anticipates up to 1 million refugees returning to Syria by mid-2025. So the point is, people are pouring back. They want to be home, but it's still a war zone, and who knows how this will develop. So again, we'll have to see. Now, a few Palestinians who have been wounded in Israel's attacks. Remember, Israel has been bombing the ISIS targets, military targets, ensuring, together with CENTCOM, with the U.S., ensuring that ISIS cannot come to power in Syria. And so the Palestinians who have been hurt in those attacks are able to leave the enclave for treatment abroad. So those are the pro-ISIS folks. The US has given also Syrian rebels a list of former officials who might know something about Austin ties, right? An American journalist who was abducted in Damascus in 2012. So the research is ongoing. We'll see where he's located and in what condition. And I know a lot of journalists have been asking about that as well. Um, Good morning, Bonnie. Good morning. Sorry to be late. No worries. My concern with Syria's ISIS taking advantage of chaos. Kurds need support and protection. They push back on ISIS. Indeed. And Kurds also, Bonnie, thanks for pointing it out. They are literally controlling this enclave or the prisons where 10,000 ISIS, dominant ISIS fighters are located. So if they were to be dismissed, what's going to happen next, right? So that's the idea here. Now, Taiwan, this is interesting. Remember when Musk was tweeting that Taiwan is China, China is Taiwan, let us sell rights to Taiwan. We don't have rights to Taiwan, by the way, but it's our ally. And he was tweeting up the storm as to Taiwan has to be with China. Come on, make it happen, right? Musk has a factory in China. He's about to open factory in Russia, right, for Tesla. And that ugly as trash truck. I saw it on the street yesterday, and they put like iron balls under it. It's a sight to see. Never seen, by the way, a woman getting out of that truck. So it's probably all male dominated. I don't know what. So Taiwan is looking for protection, meaning they are circled by Chinese army, right? And Chinese army, they're doing those drills, as they call it, which leads to blocking the ports and airports and everything, right? But also, in addition to that, they're blocking the signal. So they're looking for something satellite-wise where they can have constant signal that, in case of anything, they will have reliable source. And so Musk's company, of course, presented Starlink, to which Taiwanese government said, "Oh hell no! We saw what you posted on Twitter, shitter, and we're not gonna, go with you. We know what your intentions are. We do not trust you." I'm an amen to Taiwan. To which they turned to Amazon, because Amazon is producing a thing called Kuiper, Kuiper, Kuiper. This is a satellite-based communication. And so they aim to enhance the resilience of its mobile phone and internet infrastructure as tensions with China escalate. And so neither Amazon nor Starlink have commented on it, but Taiwanese said, "Oh, hell no, we're not working with Starlink. We see how this works for Ukraine. We see how, where you align and where your political beliefs are, given that you're also very close to incoming president. We're going to go with Amazon." Now, how close Amazon is to Trump, that's another idea. Will Bezos play politics with the connection like Musk does? Again, remains to be seen. Now, Indian National Security Advisor and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi held discussions aimed at de-escalating border tensions. They have been having a big situation since 2019 at their border. Now, when Modi and the Chinese President Xi Jinping met at BRICS, then they agreed that China will pretty much leave the border and let India take away the land that has been the discussion. So this was sort of agreed or bartered by Russia, right? So Russia will give up some territory, um, near China, to China essentially, and then Modi will get his land back. So this was the idea or the notion this summer in the midst of those BRICS meetings and whatever they had, like conferences. So now there are a spokesperson for China's foreign ministry expressed hopes for restoring bilateral relations as soon as possible, signaling an intention to move beyond recent disputes and strengthen diplomatic ties between the two nations. Certainly, China, I mean, as much as they are enlarging their military and adding nuclear warheads, if we were in officially World War III, where India's stance will be a very decisive factor. India has a big army. India is strong in Indo-Pacific region. So where or will have a strong influence. So where India will align with, right, whether it's going to go towards NATO, which Biden is advocating for, hence meeting Modi in Wilmington, showing him his school and home and all of it, sort of like building a personal relationship. Or India will go with the BRICS and Russia and Iran and this evil axis. So again, uh, then recently, remember I reported on a little island that is sort of, there were people from Mauritius, and essentially they were conquered by the Brits, and they could not return back. This island is called Chagos Island. It's a tiny island and is right under China. This Chagos Island has a military base, which is a UK US owned military base called Diego Garcia. This military base is huge because it can defend us if China were to do some doo-doo, right, regarding United States or the Western world. So what Biden has agreed, he said, okay, we need to protect the rights of these people so they can go back to Mauritius. Let's give them some type of sovereignty. Let's take the British control off of this island, but we will remain in charge, or the Brits officially will remain in charge of this Diego Garcia base for 99 years, right? What this island did is created a free trade with China. China said, we don't like that base. We want to have this base. And so even though Chagos Island and their administration leadership signed the deal with Starmer and Biden, they had elections. They have a new leader now. And this leader says, quote, well, this deal with United Kingdom regarding the future of US-UK military base on island of Garcia, on island of Diego Garcia, would not produce the benefits that the nation could expect. This new position follows the election, right? So this guy wants to barter with China and wants to China pretty much take over the base. So we're back to where we started, which is a very critical thing, because if we think about it, those islands, right, and those military bases in Indo-Pacific, that's what will protect us in case we were to be, affected or targeted. Then the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo has filed criminal complaints against company Apple, right? And its sort of daughter companies in Belgium and France, accusing them of relying on conflict minerals. The allegations center on the use of materials sourced from conflict zones, a practice that has been linked to human rights violations. In response, Apple rejected the accusations, emphasizing that it holds its suppliers to the highest standards in the industry and is committed to ethical sourcing practices. Seeing is believing. By the way, have you heard about the new iPhone 17? That is going to be very, very thin. And what it's going to do, it's going to close. So I guess get your Motorola's and you will be very much in trend next year. So I guess everything new is a very much forgotten old, as Russians say. Other thing that I wanted to point out is that I have a deep dive. I don't want to waste a bunch of time reading it out, but I want to point this out. This is a special report. Flip phone back. Yes, Bonnie, exactly. The flip phone. You know, the Motorola thing. It would be like, I felt so cool. You like a little, and then you flip it open and go, hello, Moto. You know, that's Apple's future. Anyway, Star Trek, exactly. So, one thing, what I wanted to say. This is a special report. So I was invited by the Council on Foreign Relations in Washington, D.C. to cover a special meeting with the former president of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko. And so I did cover it. I also spoke to him. He's on the left, certainly. And we agreed for an interview. And so this deep dive is a sort of a preview, is to explore his stance on where Ukraine was. He's been president from 2014 to 2019. So he has dealt with Putin, but also with Trump. He was also one who started the production of this Neptune, right? This drones that struck and eliminated essentially a third of the Russian fleet. And so he talks about all of it. I did summarize it for you. It's in your newsletter that I sent out yesterday. Yesterday I sent out the letter twice because um, stupid. I put in the headline 11th of December, which is supposed to be, of course, 18th of December. So I sent it out twice. It's the same newsletter, just the headline was updated in a second way. I sent it out. So it's there by the end of the newsletter. Please read it. I also read it out on the podcast. So the podcast is already up. The newsletter is already in your inbox. And if you subscribe to newsletter now, you have access to all the newsletters from July on. So July 15th was the first newsletter, and then daily newsletters are there. So check it out, explore it. Also, another special report came in terms of, I have a bit of pictures for you. They're investigating the Russian forces. They do come back from Ukraine and from the war, and how do they affect the Russian demographic? And so here's just a few of those stances. So this guy here, after returning from Russian war in Ukraine, 36-year-old Russian ex-soldier, killed his pregnant partner, 18-year-old Daria, over a broken loudspeaker, inflicting 138 injuries. Then another guy, 41-year-old war veteran, murdered and dismembered his partner for criticizing Putin and Russian soldiers, as their 13-year-old daughter witnessed. Another guy, 28, Russian participant in the war against Ukraine, killed his ex-wife, who's 26. Another 22-year-old Russian, Arthur Korshnev, stabbed a stranger woman by name Alexandra, 34, who was 34, to death. Another guy, lastly, 49, Russian soldier captured in Ukraine as a member of Storm Z squadron. Shortly after prisoner exchange, he attempted to rape a 12-year-old minor, stabbed her with a metal baton in the chest, and strangled her. So you see the picture. Why? Because first, they use convicts to fight in Ukraine, and probably they have maybe more chance for survival than random folks. But they come back, they have weapons, they're mad, and they're trained. And so shit, poop hits the fan. That's what I wanted to say. And this will affect Russian demographic altogether. First of all, they're lacking young man. So women will go back to and become the workforce, same as after World War II and in the Soviet Union. But also, what will those who come back actually do? So it's murder spree after another, and there's many reports like that. I just didn't want to sour your morning, so just read out 5 of them. All right, so please check the special report with the former president, see his stance. I believe he will be running for president again, because once the ceasefire is in Ukraine, they'll have elections within 60 days, because Zelensky's term has finished officially, but it's state of war. So what type of elections can you run? Zelensky probably will run too. So we'll have to see. But I wanted to point it out. There's one guy who Zelensky had as his right hand. He's like a theater producer who always played a woman. And he's became very prominent during the war times, because he said he's a philosopher or psychologist, whatever. And he would speak very, very soft and slowly, so people would be. So this guy called Arestovich, he became very prominent. Now the rumor is he is working with Musk, and he will be Musk's man in Ukraine, or Musk's advisor on Ukraine. Musk and Trump's advisor on Ukraine. Which is a very interesting thing, because he's very much connected with Russia. So he might also be formulated or groomed to run for the president in Ukraine. So the next election will be playing a major role as to where the country will align. Something I forgot to read out, that Ecuador has unveiled a debt for nature swap facilitated by Bank of America, the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, and the Inter-American Development Bank, right? We're talking about Ecuador. The deal is set to save the government nearly $500 million in debt payments over the next 17 years. The savings will be redirected towards conserving land and freshwater ecosystems in the Amazon rainforest. If you were to ask me, I think Biden had a say here because he did visit Amazon rainforest and allocated a bunch of money there for the help as well. So that's it for this morning. Again, please tune in and follow on any platform the Actual News podcast. This will be your nearest update with the actual latest actual news this evening. So after your work day, you'll be able to tune in and listen. And also the newsletter is on honest.substack.com right here. So please follow, like this video if you saw any value here, like it, share it. I would truly, truly appreciate it. To your comments, good scoop. Thank you, Bonnie. They're sick if they weren't before they're now. Okay, forgot the reference. Roberta, hey Roberta, good morning, Olga and everyone tuning in late. Musk is getting too big for his britches. Indeed. So if you're just tuning in and you missed it, please watch from the beginning. Okay, I talked very fast, not to waste your time. So please, this is the latest news. No clickbait, no like anxiety-inducing crap. Just something that we need to know. National news and global news. All right. So I see you in the podcast later tonight, and see you live tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Let's aim for 9:30 because it's always something, and you guys gotta wait. So 9:30 a.m. Eastern. I'll see you tomorrow right here. Roberta says, listen to the podcast, read the newsletter as well. Thank you, Roberta. Yay! You did it. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're the trooper. Yay! And Bonnie has a thumbs up. Good. On this note, have a good day. Keep it peaceful, keep it positive, keep your head on a swivel, and let's hope that our government doesn't shut down. Okay? All right. Have a good day. See you live tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for being here with me. Have a great day.